Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Bol. Today I was asked to give a short presentation on the cleansing of Gundica temple, so we don't read this verse. I'll select a sloka a bit later. I'll just kind of go through the highlights of Gundica cleanse, a bit of introductory points before we enter the actual cleanse of Gundica temple, and then also a philosophical aspect and the lessons we have to derive from this beautiful pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is very relevant to our progress in spiritual life. It helps us to become more conscious of our anarthas and uprooting our anarthas, because they are haunting us. These impurities, life after life, conditioning, misconceptions, misunderstandings, pratishta, egoistic tendencies, desire for fame, name, they're subtle inebrities, very, very difficult to uproot them unless we consciously understand and analyze them. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed his pastimes of Gundica cleanse. In many reasons, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu displayed these pastimes, but the most significant is to teach us to move all these subtle desires out of our hearts. So I'll just read, follow a few notes here, what we made. Garuda Prabhu helped me also. So, and after that, if we have enough time, I might read one of the purports of Srila Prabhupada from Madhya Lila, chapter 12. One of those verses are very typical and complementing and supportive to these pastimes. So some of the points are very short, so we can follow the story and the line of the story. So, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ke Jai. Cleaning Gundica temple. On the auspicious full moon day, Lord Jagannath's appearance day, Lord Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra take a public bath. As Garuda Prabhu explained it last time in his presentation. So I'll just kind of go back a bit so we can see the connecting story. Millions of years ago, in Satya Yuga, after the first bathing ceremony take place, Lord Jagannath personally instructed King Indradyumna that for 15 days, often, bathing ceremony, after the bathing ceremony, no one should see the deities. So we can see that, especially in Jagannath Puri, there's a classic tradition, how they perform all the rituals for thousands of years. We can't even record, there's no archaeological record exactly how far. The earliest they say 3,000, 4,000 years. But actually goes back to a long, long time, back to Satya Yuga. These beautiful ceremonies and pastimes of Lord Jagannath. Narada Purana explains how during bathing Lord Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, they catch the cold and get a fever due to exposure to cold winds. To recuperate, they remain in seclusion for 15 days. So this is another beautiful aspect of leading up to Gundica cleanse. Medicines are offered, juices, herbs and roots. They prepared Ayurvedic medicine. Actually, even now in Jagannath Puri, the high priest, the Brahmi priest, they're preparing a concoction based on Ayurvedic medicine. Charaka Samhita is a classic treatise of Ayurveda. And they follow some teas and juices. In our temple, we tend to make ginger teas. I remember in Sydney, we used to make sure that Lord Jagannath gets the ginger tea, hot ginger tea, with honey, lemon juice, a bit hot. And so we offered every day, not too much of a bhoga. Sometimes we made some light steamed vegetables for Lord Jagannath separately, but they were treated as they were recovering from a cold. During this time of seclusion, traditionally in Jagannath Puri, deities are repainted. This is another beautiful feature of the pastime, that Lord Jagannath is getting repainted, subtly different every time, depending on the expression and love of the priest. Obviously, the priests were very selected, very chosen by Lord Jagannath himself, because often they were the privileged who can come so close to Lord Jagannath. Even to the present day, although it's not the same when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was present, but the resemblance of that tradition is still there. The most qualified priests who are very much close to Lord Jagannath, they're supervising the entire worship and service to Lord Jagannath on a daily basis. They are the ones who orchestrate all the Vedic hymns and mantras throughout the day, many offerings throughout the day, 56 offerings, many offerings. And some say that at least 800 to 1,000 cooks in the kitchen for Lord Jagannath on a daily basis. So they're very much laboring hard. And they actually trained from childhood to just cook for Lord Jagannath. They're real cooks, Brahmin cooks. They're not so much of a Pandit type of Brahmins, but they're very much dedicating cooking and tending the deities throughout the day. After 15 days in seclusion, Lord Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra reappear before their loving devotees, dressed them in their finest robes and ornaments, one day before Rath Yatra. So Lord Jagannath himself is getting ready with his close associates, Lord Balaram, Balabhadra, Balaram, Baladev, and Srimate Subhadra Devi, the sister of Lord Baladev and Lord Jagannath. By the way, for the new devotees, the exact meaning of Lord Jagannath is, who knows? Thank you. So Lord Jagannath is the Lord of the universe. Wow, amazing. So one of the sweetest pastimes. And as we know from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu particularly chosen Lord Jagannath as the Ishta deity, like the main worshipable personality, the Lord of the universe. On the morning of Rath Yatra, thousands of people gather to get a glimpse of the deities as they emerge from the temple and as they are placed on their carts. Even now, you can see, nowadays we are kind of fortunate to monitor and watch the annual Rath Yatra festival in Jagannath Puri, which takes place very soon, in June generally. But I heard this year they cancelled it because of the, which is very rare. I think the last time they cancelled, it was 1920 when they had the Spanish flu, I think. There was some confusion there, and quite a few people died. Thousands of people died because, millions of people gather. So they finally decided they're going to do it more privately in the temple, and they still do the ritual. They still do the festival, but just in a very small scale, not in the millions and millions of people. But it's a very beautiful kind of exhibition of these pastimes. As they carry Lord Jagannath and his associates, Lord Baladev, Subhadra, so many people gather, and Lord Jagannath has his direct servants, we even call bodyguards, who protecting Lord Jagannath, because so many people come and trying to touch. Not everyone can get close to, but somehow or other they carry the deity slowly. You can see sometimes in the films. And so many people get at least a glimpse of Lord Jagannath, which is like so anxious to see Lord Jagannath. And this is a very, very important point also, how anxious they see Lord Jagannath. The residents of Jagannath Puri are very special. Srila Bhakti Saranta Saraswati Maharaj, in his Anubhasya, he explains very extensively that the residents of Jagannath Puri, they have basically 4 arm forms. They have the Vaikuntha forms. And Jagannath Puri are very interesting because it exhibits indirectly the mood of Dwaraka. And as we go to Gundica temple cleans gradually, and why Gundica temple stands out again, because Gundica temple resembles the feeling and the mood of Vrindavan. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is when gathers his devotees, as we read on the story here. The carts are very heavy. It takes 500 people to pull each of the 3 carts 2 kilometers to the famous Gundica temple, where their lordships stay for 8 to 9 days. This is a very beautiful statement here too. Sometimes he stays 7 days, sometimes he stays 8 days, sometimes 9 days. It's like a vacation. So after recovering, he goes to Gundica temple. There's 2 kilometers distance. This is when the Rati Yatra, actually, the procession takes place. On the 10th day, Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra return to their main temple. So there is a procession back also. There's a technical term, I just can't remember, but there's that procession, that path is also a very significant return of Lord Jagannath to the main shrine, to the Puri temple, obviously. This Gundica temple is surrounded by lush gardens, tall, cooling coconut trees, fragrant flowers, which creates a Vrindavan atmosphere. You can see that it is a chosen place by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Jagannath. The main Jagannath temple area is called Nila Chala due to its grandeur, opulence, is compared to Dwaraka. So the temple of Jagannath in Puri, it resembles the mood of Dwaraka, the kingly opulence, servants, so many servants, just like when Krishna was in Dwaraka. Obviously he had so many servants. He was in a very royal, very different from the Vrindavan mood. That is why we can see in many beautiful scriptures, particularly the texts of Jiva Goswami, Gopal Champu, which is kindly translated by Bhanu Swami Maharaj very nicely, about the beautiful, exalted pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna in Vrindavan. And then the transition happened when he left Vrindavan. So obviously Krishna, obviously in front of everyone, as he moved out of these most confidential regions of Vrindavan, Mathura, Rajamandal, to perform his Dwaraka pastimes, which was more like, resembles the Vaikuntha mood. Krishna is in a royal palace, 16,108 wives and palaces, and Dwaraka city, which is built by Vishwakarma, designed by Vishwakarma, who was a great Vedic architect of the Devas. He constructed, by his mystic opulence, Dwaraka city for the pleasure of Krishna. There's a beautiful description of this in Hare Vamsi Purana, where very detailed explanation and a description of how Vishwakarma designed Dwaraka city. Very beautiful. He had devas coming, millions of devotees coming from all around the universe, coming to stone by stone build the Dwaraka city. So when Lord Jagannath performed his beautiful pastimes, obviously he had that mood of Dwaraka. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was hankering for the Vrindavan mood also. Therefore, these pastimes has many subtle reasons, apart from the philosophical and complexities, what we discussed earlier, to teach us. So during Ratiyatra Parad, the eager devotees are in mood of Brajavasis, begging Krishna to come back to Vrindavan with them, as they pull the car to Gundica. So, just like in the Krishna's pastimes, so the gopis were hankering, they were suffering emotionally. Where is Krishna? The feeling of separation. And this is also very beautifully explained in Gopal Champu, which is a very deep, esoteric, transcendental pastimes, and we have to be ready for that. And I think these beautiful pastimes of Gundica temple and cleansing of our heart and is preparing us for our higher topics, what Srila Prabhupada preparing us through his teachings, gradually raising our consciousness, just like we read the first canto, second canto, gradually going up to beautiful pastimes of Krishna. And we have to be very careful not to prematurely contemplate on these, but we have to kind of aspire. We should aspire, we should work on that. We should gradually raise our consciousness so we can actually understand these things, not just superficially but deeply, with feeling, with experience, with love. So then we can appreciate the Goswami's work, a bit more elaborate work. But Srila Prabhupada's books are the standard, and Srila Prabhupada gave us everything in his books in a sense. So Srila Prabhupada gave us everything, but the details you may, under guidance of a Shiksha Guru, very accomplished Shiksha Guru, you may take some kind of storyline from one of the Goswamis, like Rupa Goswami, just like Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, guiding us in the science of how to love Krishna, how to attain that love for Krishna. So there are guidelines which are complementing us, complementing our understanding of Srila Prabhupada's books. But we should not doubt, because sometimes there's an argument that Srila Prabhupada didn't actually give us everything. No, that's not true. Prabhupada gave us the essence. Everything is there. But sometimes we may study other acharyas in our line, but we have to be very careful not to jump over our spiritual master. We have to understand these literatures seeing through the eyes of Srila Prabhupada's teachings. So this is just a caution. We have to not to offend Srila Prabhupada, and we cannot jump over him. Sometimes devotees prematurely jump to higher topics, esoteric topics, and without proper understanding, we have to, just like worshipping the deities, we have to be very careful. We go in an order: Guru, Gauranga, and then we gradually go up to Radha and Krishna, always in the mood of servitor on the behalf of our spiritual master. We have no qualification, honestly. I mean, at least myself, we don't have the qualification just to approach Krishna just like that. We always have to get the blessings. So, the devotees in Jagannath Puri, and particularly Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's presence, devotees felt an intense desire, and Lord Jagannath himself also wanted to change mood temporarily and feel the Vrindavan atmosphere in Gundica temple. As Rath Yatra festival was approaching, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first called Kashi Mishra, superintendent of the Gundica temple. Lord Chaitanya then called Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, begged him permission to wash the temple. The superintendent said to Sri Chaitanya, "My dear Lord, we are all your servant. Whatever you desire, it is our duty to perform. Yet washing the temple is not our service, it's not your service. But if it's not befitting you, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But if you wish to do so, it is to be accepted as one of your transcendental pastimes." Of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's loving servants, very close, confidential servants, they objected. "Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how can you just do some manual service? It's our duty to cleanse the temple." But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu obviously wanted to enjoy this mellow, this beautiful experience here with the devotees together. He is the leader of the devotees, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. "King has given me a special order to do without delay." So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu responded. Soon after superintendent delivered Kashi Mishra, who was basically the temple president, 100 new water pots and 100 brooms. So you can imagine the devotees, amount of devotees. Wow. All that together. See, this is a very good example also. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu commands the devotees, let's do it. So they all cooperated. Let's do it for pleasure of Mahaprabhu. Lord Jagannath is coming just a day before. So they all got very excited. Of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was giving the heartbeat of the Gundica cleanse. He was working really hard to show everyone how to do it. Early next day, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took his personal associates with him. After personally smearing the sandalwood pulp on their bodies. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu treated all those surrendered devotees very personally. See, every step in this Gundica temple has a philosophical point and inspiration. Because, as Krishna says, if you just surrender to me, I'll give you all protection. I'll give you all love. Just give up all these illusions and so-called dharmas. Just give yourself to me. I'll take care of you. You'll be happy. Do not fear. He assures us, do not fear. Often devotees hang on to attachments subtly in every way, this way, that way. Often they don't even realize that they have these attachments. It's so deep-rooted in the subconscious mind that we hang on to some foolish things, really. I mean, if you analyze it from philosophy point of view, attached to objects, attached to environment. No, we should be attached to the service of the Vaishnavas. And so Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teaching us, gathering all the devotees together. And as Krishna says, do not fear. I'll give you protection. I'll give you all what I give you. You just give yourself to me. You have to have that faith. When we are fearful, that means we are attached. We are attached to something, attached to this or that. I know it's easy to say this, but we should aspire. We are aspiring devotees. Let's become lovers of Krishna, of Lord Jagannath, how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught the devotees. By example. And as we know, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had multiple roles in his pastimes. Some of his confidential associates could clearly understand that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna Chaitanya, directly Krishna himself. He's not an avatar, he's directly Krishna. Just like Maharaj in the last two classes explained about Yuga avatars, Lila avatars, and the expansions, and certain times, periods. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, directly performing these beautiful pastimes. So then at the same time Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited the role of a devotee. Not just an ordinary devotee, but a pure devotee. Someone who really gives his heart to Krishna. So, and he was like the commander-in-chief, just like a Sankirtan leader. And you can see Srila Prabhupada's early days, Prabhupada was a general of the devotees. And this direct representation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The spiritual master represents the essence and the love of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda, of course, because they can never be separated. At first, they swept the temple with brooms, then temple buildings, the area between temple and the kirtan hall. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was personally cleaning just to instruct others. During the cleaning, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all the Vaishnavas were chanting the holy names in great jubilation. Lord Chaitanya was shedding tears of love. Just see how beautifully exhibiting this ecstasy in front of everyone, to the point that we also observing by reading these beautiful purports and slokas by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. So even us get affected, especially on the day of Gundica cleanse, which is supposed to be on Monday, but it might be on another day, maybe in the weekend. We all feel that at least even just a fragmental part of that ecstasy, it becomes so ecstatic just to clean Krishna's temple, anything. So just remember these pastimes as we go on, how to do it in the best way, the most effective way. Following in Lord Chaitanya's footsteps, all the devotees collected all the straw, dust and grain of sand. One place, they gathered it up and they threw it outside. Despite their sincere efforts, no one could collect as much dust, sand and straw as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So they're watching Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They're scared of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because he also chastised them. Oh, you're not cleaning, not working hard enough. So when Srila Prabhupada was present, he was like a commander-in-chief. So his chastisement was out of love and affection, like a grandfather. The devotees felt. Actually, the chastisement of the spiritual master is like a precious jewel in the eyes of the devotee, metaphorically speaking. Because when we get chastised, our attention, our consciousness put back in the right place. Otherwise, like this pratishta and desire for independent kind of ideas, they're haunting us. It's been with us for a long, long time. But when we are chastised by Krishna himself, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or the spiritual master, then we realize, well, I have to try harder. Krishna consciousness is a constant endeavor. We should never think that we are there. We're not there yet. And by Krishna's help, we're developing our devotion nicely. Soon 100 men stood, ready with filled water pots, simply waiting. The Lord's order to throw water. And soon Lord Chaitanya called for more water. They first washed the main temple of Gundica. The ceilings, walls, floor, also Lord Jagannath's sitting place, because Lord Jagannath just about to arrive, not much time, so they're getting ready for Lord Jagannath to arrive from the Puri to Gundica. Someone else begged that water. Another person was giving that water in charity, because when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was handling all these things like water, touched his body, touched his lotus feet. So the devotees, amazing, they were in complete ecstasy, because they just cleansing Gundica. They were conscious of every dust, speck, anything, even straws, anything. They washed everything, but they're also watching Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lotus feet, any drops of water there. So they can leak that mercy, they can catch that mercy. They're very intelligent. So as aspiring devotees, we should be very intelligent how to seek the mercy. To get the mercy of the devotees, we should know how to attract the attention of Krishna. So we serve the devotees without expecting any return. Just serve the devotees. We don't need to make a big deal. Service is very simple actually, just depending on our heart, the condition of our heart. Just serve Krishna according to your capacity. After the water was let out through, so as they wash in the temple, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mopped the rooms with his own cloth, drying. He polished the throne. Soon the whole temple was cleansed, purified, cool and pleasing. Vrindavan atmosphere. Very, very clean, sparkling clean, which is also the sign of mode of goodness where Krishna can take place. See, this is also a beautiful philosophical aspect. We can just lecture on these things that Prabhupada, when Srila Prabhupada visited the temples, he always emphasized clean, keeping clean, because cleanliness is next to godliness. Sometimes the devotees repeating this, and Prabhupada heard it once and said, no, cleanliness is godliness. Because to invite Krishna in our heart, not to speak, first of all, externally we have to be clean, and internally by taking shelter of the sadhana bhakti, sadhaka. We are sadhakas, we are purifying ourselves, applying the principles, applying the process, and gradually, just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed the Gundica temple, washing our hearts, every bit. So all these impurities gradually disappear, and then nothing else left, just Krishna, how to love Krishna, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just nothing else left, just the devotees, Krishna, spiritual master, completely focused. When our heart is so pure, it will be like that. In the beginning, our attention is diverted into so many things. So this is during the cleaning, when Lord Chaitanya saw someone doing nicely, he praised him. But if he saw that someone was not working hard enough to his satisfaction, he immediately chastised that person with love, not bearing him any grudge. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu loved his devotees, so when he chastised, it's just pure love. It's like nectar. They also washed the area where the food was kept, the kitchen, the entire yard, raised sitting places, and every other room. After everything was thoroughly washed, one Vaishnava came, poured water on the Lord's lotus feet, then drank that water. However, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not happy. Called for Swarup Damodar, which is his Swarup Damodar, one of the most confidential servants, secretaries of Mahaprabhu, great devotee. Lord Chaitanya told him, just see the behavior of this devotee. He has washed my feet within the temple of Lord Jagannath. Not only that, but he has also drank that water. I do not know what reaction I'll get. I will incur because of this offense. Indeed, this devotee has greatly implicated me. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of course, is not different from Lord Jagannath. But he, like I said, he's got multiple roles in his pastimes. He's acting as a devotee, a sannyasi, a leader of the devotees. He has to set example, feel free from ahankara, false ego. And when he doesn't like to be directly worshipped or adored or served like that. So he was really affected by this, and of course teaching again. So the devotee should be very careful. We're not here to accept services. Although there's a natural exchange amongst devotees, we serve each other, and sometimes we take help from devotees, but the idea is to give service, offer service, not take service. We have to understand this philosophy very clearly. That's why the Shikshakstaka, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu clearly explains, gradually, that really we are the servants. We are the servants of Mahaprabhu, servants of the devotees, in a humble state of mind, offering respect to all living entities, ready to offer respect to everyone. And we're not holding grudge or envy or jealousy towards anyone, not to speak of devotees. So we have to be very careful. After everything was thoroughly washed, in this way Lord Chaitanya was angry. Back to the story where the devotee Samharada embarrassed Chaitanya Mahaprabhu externally in order to get some, I would say, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just showing the proper etiquette that we should not accept, we should not desire service from others. Although we can accept, naturally we have an exchange, that one must follow very strictly the rules and regulations in regards to serving the Lord in the temple. Outside the gateway of the temple, all the roads were also cleansed. So they continue the cleansing. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as the world teacher, was teaching us about these pastimes, how one should receive Lord Krishna within one's cleansed and pacified heart. That if one wants to see Krishna seated in one's heart, one must first cleanse the heart. Especially in this age of Kali Yuga, everyone's heart is unclean. Therefore Lord Chaitanya especially recommends everyone to chant the holy names of Sri Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And hear about the transcendental glories of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Krishna, and his pastimes. Therefore, the devotee has to cleanse his heart just as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cleansed Gundica temple. In this way, one can be pacified and enriched in devotional service. If the heart is filled with straw, dirt, sand, such as lust, greed, envy, pride, one cannot enthrone the Lord there. Advancement in spiritual life can be very troublesome. So it's good to be conscious of these things. Just like a conscious devotee, I mean to say, we are conscious of the externals. We were just like in the daily kitchen or on the altar, the ashrams, the temple grounds. It's not just on Gundica temple cleans days, but on a daily basis, keep ourselves clean externally. Because before we can purify ourselves internally, we have to have the foundation there. Uncleanness does not attract Krishna, and it's a symptom of moral ignorance. So some may argue that the Avadutas were not so clean, but the Avadutas, generally speaking, the real Avadutas, are transcendental beyond this. And so we cannot understand them. Just like Vamsidas Babaji Maharaj or Gorakishodas Babaji Maharaj, often then hardly took bath even, once a month maybe. And so they were completely absorbed by Krishabhadev, all great examples, but we cannot imitate. Our devotion service is very fragile. We are very much depending on the environment, the association of devotees, the external environment, the temple, the deities, the blessings, and the shelter we have. So we should be humble and trying to uproot all these impurities and even external uncleanliness, trying to keep ourselves always clean. And there are so many instructions, advice in many scriptures, Hari Bhakti Vilas, Shri Pancharatika Vidhi, how one should keep everything clean. There are many traditional practices. Of course, we don't always do this. Our program is very simplified. But traditional Brahmanas, not just the Smarta Brahmanas, but even the Sri Vaishnavas, the Madhavas, and sometimes the Gaudiya, they had a very particular way of cleansing even the body. They were chanting mantras in every limbs, just like we do the Achamaniyam before entering the daily room. We have a particular way of purifying by mantra, Mula mantra, addressing Krishna's avatars, purify our different parts of our body. When you do simple Achamaniyam, so the same way we're cleaning ourselves in every way as much as possible. Because this material world is really made for forgetfulness. We can forget Krishna. But when we keep ourselves clean, internally, externally, every way, then Krishna will sit on the throne of our heart. The heart must be cleansed of all material motives, such as the desire for material opulence, enjoyment, also impersonal liberation, the desire to become one with the Lord. So these are all really subtle contamination which requires a conscious effort to uproot. Just like when we go in the garden, you see all these weeds coming up, popping up. We call anarthas in Sanskrit, basically. So our heart is like that. We have to be vigilant, I would say, vigilant, consciously. And if we don't recognize them consciously, then we take shelter of the spiritual master. Please see what's my hidden motive here. Maybe I'm being cheated by Maya again in subtle ways. And it's much easier when we are together. When you leave the association of devotees, it becomes very risky because we may not have that awareness anymore. Maya covers us, just like how the story says. Dust, straws and impurities settle in our heart gradually and builds layers of forgetfulness, basically. So we don't want to forget Krishna. We want to remember Krishna. This really is our true objective, to always remember Krishna and develop that loving sentiment and experience and devotion. I know it's very high ideals, but we have to aspire. We have to know what we are doing, what we are aspiring for. We have to be very clear on a daily basis. So we are here to practice and develop our devotion. We're not just here for social environment. Of course, naturally, we have beautiful brothers and sisters here. We interact with each other. But we should never forget why we are here. Even though one may cleanse the heart, sometimes subtle desires again come into being within the heart. So, must continuously be cleansing the heart for one's whole lifetime, not just for some time, whole lifetime. It's a gradual progress. Through hearing and chanting, serving deities, serving devotees, eating Krishna prasad. To teach us this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cleaned the temple for second time. Wow! See? See, even if you think that we've done good, Maya is checking us. Because we can never be so sure in the material world. It's very subtle, and we don't want to wait when a gross fall down comes. See, Maya just covers us gradually, tricking us, deluding us, and then pulls us down. You just come down. See, covers you, you forget Krishna, and bang, and keep you down. See, sometimes you see a kangaroo drowns a dog. You know, so we don't want to be like that. See, we don't. Maya just pushing us down. Very difficult to get it up. You know, like get again going in devotion service. So we should try to find the seed, the unsprouted, not germinated seed in our heart. Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, cleaning every dust and making sure there's nothing left. Second time, let's do it again. Cleans the whole temple again. Was much thorough the second time, with firm conviction. Similarly, one must endeavor with patience, enthusiasm, determination to throw out all stumbling blocks on the path of devotion service. In Bhakti Yoga, or Krishna consciousness, we learn the importance of purifying, refining our consciousness, as much as possible avoiding, freeing ourselves from all negative influences that pervade especially in our modern world. You can see we are bombarded with all kinds of nonsense, ignorance, tamaguna. So we have to be very careful. This is an important stepping stone in reclaiming our freedom so we can live in our sacred space, free from all material consciousness, awakening fully and nourish our spiritual love and devotion, which we can pass on to others. See, before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in many parts of in Chaitanya Charitamrita that before we can give love of Godhead, we have to have love of Godhead already. How can you give something that you don't have? So before we can actually preach effectively, share the love and bliss and ecstatic experience of Krishna consciousness, we also have to have an experience. We already have to have it. Because otherwise first of all, we're not teaching by example, second, won't be effective. Purity is the force. So when we practice nicely, under the guidance of our spiritual masters and the Vaishnavas, then there'll be purity, there'll be sincerity, we'll be genuine, and we have an impact on people. We'll attract them. They will feel just like Jayananda Prabhu, he was so particular in his devotion, so surrendered to Srila Prabhupada. He was so simple at the same time, very simple-hearted, very pure-hearted, and he always served the devotees. So he was so attractive to the newcomers. Wow, he's so blissful. Wow. So that's how we should be, at least. Aspire to that. However, if we are not careful, the mind, intelligence, senses, ego can bewilder us, put us in illusion, make us think that this material world and ourselves are separate from the Lord. The ultimate goal of life is to simply try to enjoy this body, this world independently. So the illusion, the subtlety is coming in, confusing us, deluding us. Even advanced devotees get confused sometimes, because unless we are conscious and vigilant, then Maya can enter We should understand that Maya is Krishna's potencies, and no one has the power unless one is completely pure and under the full protection of the Lord, especially a Mahabhagavat, the Nitya Siddha, eternally liberated souls. Most devotees, we still gradually building our devotion, sadhaka, sadhana, and we follow the guidelines. But we should always be careful, in a humble state of mind. Krishna, I'm depending on you so much. Please help us. So one hand, we must be very practical about techniques for keeping ourselves pure. We should be humble and understand that material contamination is an ever-present reality. Therefore, we must learn how to cope with it, use our intelligence and knowledge gathered by reading Srila Prabhupada's books, hearing from devotees, attending the classes. So we always stimulated, we understand these things. Every day we are at war with Maya. This is a very powerful, deluding material energy who, like a very clever thief, trying to steal away our most valuable asset, our Krishna consciousness. However, if we take full shelter of Krishna consciousness, we will ultimately be victorious, for Krishna surely will help us. Krishna will help us. But He will only help us to the degree that we are willing to take shelter. Therefore, under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, we must learn this great art and science of how to take shelter of Krishna. So this cleansing of Gundica temple was conducted by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to let us know how heart should be cleansed, suited to receive Lord Krishna, to enable Him to sit within our heart without any disturbances. So there's so much more to say, so we have short time here, so I don't want to go on. Just keep it, a conclusion is that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had multiplied teaching with this whole Gundica cleanse. First of all, Lord Jagannath himself felt the separation from the Vrindavan mood, so he wanted to have a vacation. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at the same time was getting ready to receive Lord Jagannath. And a very, very beautiful mood also, because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited the mood of Radharani in relation to Lord Jagannath, and Lord Jagannath exhibited the mood of Krishna. Amazing. So when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw Lord Jagannath, he saw, my dear Krishna, just like Radharani would call out. And Lord Jagannath, similarly, my dear Radharani. So the beautiful, elevated interaction. And so Krishna himself has his own internal dealings. And very, very advanced, exalted devotees can see this, they can perceive this. Wow, this is a very beautiful, loving exchange here between Lord Jagannath and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, although the same personality, and slightly expressing different moods. And a very beautiful slokas in particularly Rupa Goswami and Jiva Goswami on these topics. In many, many texts, how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu expressed this beautiful, loving emotion to Lord Jagannath. Vice versa, Lord Jagannath also. So this is a moral instruction, spiritual instruction, and also externally, like I said, explained it before, external cleanliness, internal cleansing. And as aspiring devotees, we should be very conscious, uprooting these anarthas, so we can actually simply focus on the real thing, pure devotion and service to Lord Shri Krishna. Hare Krishna. Gundica Temple Cleanse Ki Jai. Hare Bol. Any questions or comments? Thank you. Thank you.
The whole pastime.
Yeah. Yes.
And there's kind of some sort of to be very conscious of each sort of anatta, although sometimes you don't even know you've got a particular anatta.
Yeah.
Or another school of thought is just that you follow the process very sincerely.
Yes.
The chanting and the
Yes. Yes.
will kind of dissolve.
Yes.
and
Yes.
the
Yes.
dissolve.
Yes.
So
Yes.
how would you see that?
It's I think it comes very good point. It comes down to the individual devotee, how eager, how sincere to be aware of these things. But at the same time, we focus on the solution, not too much on the problem. See, just like in this world, when someone's got a cancer, if it dwells on the problem, it gets worse. No, look for the solution, look for the remedy, look for the preventative measures. So we focus on the solution, which is chanting of the holy names of Krishna, follow the process properly, take guidance from advanced devotees. We should not shy away from taking shiksha. We should recognize, and shiksha can be often a very internal thing. Like sometimes we all have devotees we can look upon, and many shiksha in different aspects of devotion service, and give us some level of wisdom, and so we can understand Srila Prabhupada even more so, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and consciously be aware of these anarthas. But like I said, I think the best is just to simply focus on improving our chanting, because we have so many desires from many lives. We don't even know the numbers, countless lives, and they're all just sitting there. Just like in this garden, we don't see the seeds. There's so many seeds everywhere, and when you don't cut the grass, you don't mow the grass, and eventually you see this popping up and germinating. So it's almost impossible to detect every anarthas. But of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling us we should be very conscious as far as possible. But that doesn't mean that we overly fearful, and we have the solution. That's why we can have confidence. Let's take shelter of Krishna. Let's improve our chanting, chant sincerely, avoid the offenses. And in that way a lot of these things just evaporate. We don't even see them anymore. So that's the best way, see. Otherwise we get too occupied with these. We don't have to. Krishna gives us protection also when we are sincere. So often he brings it to our attention. Let's say something really obvious, and it covers us, because Maya is very subtle, as you know, so it covers our intellect in all the different layers. And then Krishna, if you're very sincere, Krishna brings it to the attention. Oh, watch out, this anartha here, some envy there, or subtle envy or jealousy towards other devotees. That's a very deep, envy is very deep. And you see amongst the devotees and brothers even. And even Prabhupada himself was a bit disappointed with his own God brothers, some of them anyway. Because the envy is very deep rooted in the living entities. Wow. And then the desire to become one with the Lord, that's the last snare. That's even more subtle. So, but when we chant sincerely, in the right mood, the right understanding, in the right humility is very important. Then even if we have weaknesses, Krishna will help. He personally come and help in our hearts. Krishna helps those who help themselves. So our business is to help ourselves and to apply the process. And Krishna gives all the support. And a lot of these things which bothering us for many lifetimes, they gradually evaporate, disappear. And we just simply, Krishna left on the throne of our heart. That's what I can say. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.